Hey, everybody. Dr. Brian Dooley with you this morning on this April 11th edition of Why People Like New Beginnings. And so we are here with computer expert Dr. Andrew DeSaro, who's going to tell us why he likes new beginnings. But before we start that, I think everybody wants to know, is it DeSaro or DeSaro?
Well, honestly, it's DeSaro. So that's just keep it simple.
That's perfect. That's how I've said it. So I'm glad to know that I was actually correct.
That's because you're from Jersey. You know better.
Yeah, forget about it. It's Mario, not Mario.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So Dr. Andrew is one of my buddies up at New Beginnings, so we'll enjoy a diner late night thing. But Dr. Andrew, how long have you been with New Beginnings, and why do you like it so much?
I started with New Beginnings probably, I'm going to say in 2000. You know what? At first, I really had no idea. I'd never been to anything like New Beginnings, even as a student, had no clue. And so for me, this was like my first, indoctrination into anything chiropractic philosophy. And when I went to the first one, it was really like just a surreal event. Like I had never been to a conference like that before. And when I came back, my practice grew, and I was like, well, I don't know what I did different. And every time I went to another New Beginnings, my practice would grow again. And so I said, well, heck, I think I'm just going to keep going to New Beginnings. It doesn't make sense not to. So it's kind of like what hooked me to begin with. And then, of course, there's so many great things and so many great people to, gain so many insights from that. It just kind of, evolved from there, so to speak.
How long were you in practice when you first went to a New Beginnings?
I hadn't been in practice very long. As a matter of fact, Dr. Christie and I, we graduated in 98 from Palmer, Iowa, and we had started our practice in 99. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to work with kids and pediatrics, right? And so I took a class from Dr. Jeannie Ohm, and it was one of the most profound experiences. We were doing the in utero constraint technique at the time, or Webster technique. So in her office, her home office, we did this class. And so we had a break for lunch, right? Because it was like a big 8-hour class, whatever it was. And so we broke for lunch. And, I was just talking to her, and we were all in a big group, and I was just kind of asking her some questions about this and that. And I don't know, maybe she just got tired of listening to my questions or answering me, because I'm sure that would happen. She had a brochure from New Beginnings, and it was like an old black and white trifold, like super simple font. Like there wasn't anything exciting on it. And she said, you should go to this. And she put her hand on it and slid it across the counter. And honestly, I'm not sure if she was talking to everybody, but it felt like in my memory, it was she was speaking to me. And I went, okay. And so like I immediately went home, that evening, and I said, I have to go to this program. Dr. Jeannie said I have to go. And that was the beginning of it. And so probably we had only been in practice maybe less than a year at that point. So, yeah.
Well, you bring up an interesting point to me about what's special about New Beginnings is Dr. Jeannie was not on the board or anything like that with New Beginnings, but she supported it. And what New Beginnings about is chiropractors supporting other chiropractors, not selling to other chiropractors that you may see on a lot of stages. But in this case, it is really chiropractors supporting other chiropractors.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Believe it or not, even though Jeannie wasn't on the formal board of New Beginnings, and at that time they had a really great tight-knit group of members on the board, and things were going beautifully for New Beginnings. Jeannie, though, was on the student committee. And again, she was on the student committee with the likes of Peter Kevorkian and Petty Giuliano. Luke Corletto was on that. You had some big, heavy hitters on that, just a committee side of things. And so basically, without really being formally mentored by Jeannie, I just kind of, followed what she did. And so, I then joined the student committee from there. But I would definitely agree that one of the best things about New Beginnings, it is about supporting others. And, I would say that New Beginnings has been one of the biggest platforms in supporting young, new chiropractors coming up and through, their careers. Even Jeannie had her first opening coming through, speaking and doing all the presentations. Was one of her first gigs was being able to speak at New Beginnings. So it's really been amazing history there.
I think that's one of the amazing things when you sit down and you do look at the history, how many speakers actually did their first stage talk at New Beginnings. And that's, I think, the beauty of what Jim DeBell has put together, is that this is a place where at times it's just going to be flat raw, where people are just getting out there and just saying what's on their heart about chiropractic and being in practice. And you just feel this overwhelming urge to see people do well. And I love when they have the new students, when there's a first timer that gets up there to speak, and you see the smile on their face because Jim asked them to do it. And I know it was my first time speaking other than in a classroom about chiropractic was on New Beginning stage. So I certainly am indebted to Jim about that. If there's somebody on the fence, or they're just wondering, should I go to New Beginnings this next May 20 through 23rd? Why should they go? What is it about it that keeps bringing you back every year, or every couple times a year?
Right. You said it perfectly. It's where people get a chance to share what's on their hearts and minds. And one of my favorite explanations of what chiropractic is, or New Beginnings is, came from Dr. Bob Tarantino. And he used to be on the board of New Beginnings. And he put it very simply: when you come to New Beginnings, you learn to think like a chiropractor. There's a lot of things you can go do. There's a lot of places you can go, learn a technique, or you might be able to learn a little bit more science about chiropractic. And don't get me wrong, you still get some of that at New Beginnings, but very few places offer you the opportunity to learn how to think like a chiropractor. And, you really get embedded into the lifestyle of what chiropractic is, and how it is that these great chiropractors that we all look up to, how do they go about their day, and, how do they bring that to their families? And so, if you're on the fence about New Beginnings, the best answer is you have to come experience it. And the reason why I keep going back is because it's never the same. It's okay, it may have a similar format, or you might see some familiar faces, but it's never the same, right? It is really totally its own entity. And I'm sure you would agree that, it's so dynamic that each weekend has its own little, vibe or theme to it. And that goes without even the speakers, having any kind of pre-thought, or, it's not like all the speakers get together on an email chat and start saying, hey, well, we're going to talk about this. No, it's just like this innate flow that comes out. And I think one of the most awesome, things I get to observe really up close is what Jim DeBell has been able to do over the years, and has consistently done, is deliver the goods in respect to putting together such a fantastic team of speakers, and then knowing which ones to pull from, and which one to put here. And I mean, let me tell you, it is a labor of love for him to go through the schedule, to go through everything he does. But it's such a dynamic world that, just because you went to New Beginnings, a year ago, certainly doesn't mean that it's going to be the same today. And that's what makes it so wonderful and really, great for us.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't know, this is what, 4 or 5 years for me or so that I've been involved with it, but I agree that it's always something different. Speakers like, oh, I've seen that person before. They're going to say something different. What I like about too, a lot of people that have talked about, is that family aspect of New Beginnings, because so much to me of New Beginnings, while the program's always fantastic, and as you said, I don't know how he puts this stuff together, but he basically clumps it, for those that don't know, for hour blocks, so 20-minute speakers, other than if you're doing CE. And he just has this magical touch of, boy, that was the grouping that needed to be together that particular weekend. It'll be a different grouping with different speakers or whatever on another weekend, but it's that time between the talks. It's the time After the seminar's done for the day, when we all get to hang out, either we go eat or we go to the bar. We might end up at a diner at 2:00 in the morning. Thank you, New Jersey. So, yeah. But to me, it's just, it is such a family atmosphere where Jim tells you, if it's your first time going, he says, welcome home. Every time he sees you. And that's almost one of when I pull into New Beginnings, the first thing I need to do is find Jim to get the good welcome home. And then, of course, he usually asks me to move a table and some chairs around and help unload the truck, but that's fine too.
It's like being at, it's like when you go to your parents' house or something like that, you say hello and then, okay, we got to go do this or you got to get this done. Yeah. I mean, that happens.
Yeah. It's great to see you. Go mow the lawn.
Well, and yeah. And the great thing about that family atmosphere is one of the great things that we've done is, you take that little piece of family gathering and, it's easy for us to then translate that into our practices. And so when we talk to our practice members and patients and, the people in our community, you're approaching them just like, as if they're family. And so it really extends beyond the four walls of New Beginnings. It almost takes, like I said earlier, like a life of its own, but not just when you're there, but now in all of the people that attend. So it really becomes this expansive network of just one big, great family. And I got to tell you, it has been such a blessing. And of course, we've become really great friends with many of the people on the board. The Hants are, and their entire family. We definitely owe a ton of gratitude and debt for them. Just being who they are and being the friends they are to us. The DeMarcos are just a great group of, again, a wonderful family, and it's always been such a wonderful place to be able to go. But Jim and Babs, man, I got to tell you, it's amazing what they've done. I mean, there's a lot of people that could put on a program. There's a lot of people who can maybe, put together a good couple powerhouse speakers, but they just create and hold this awesome space for so many people, like you said, to be able to be a chiropractor and come home to. It's just phenomenal. It's just such an outstanding experience. So I wish I could, tell you what you're going to get from it. But there'd be no way I could even predict, how amazing it would be after you get to a New Beginnings.
Well, I know for me, part what I like, and you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, is somehow my practice is going to be affected in the positive. There's going to be a whole bunch of new patients that I didn't know. They're going to all of a sudden just start calling. The people that I already have on the schedule just have a different energy about them. You're going to get a whole bunch of reactivations. All of a sudden, people are just calling to come back in. It's always affected. And as I was sitting here thinking while you were talking, if you need a hug in chiropractic, you get it at New Beginnings. And, when I was a kid and I'm out there doing my thing and I fell down and I skinned my knee, I went to my mom to get a hug. And that's what you get at New Beginnings. When we're out there and we are dealing with the world as it is, as crazy as it is, you come back to New Beginnings, you get that hug, and you're just ready to go serve chiropractic and deliver chiropractic to your communities again. So everybody, this year's or the next New Beginnings is May 20th through 23rd, 2021 in beautiful Asbury Park, New Jersey, down the Jersey Shore. If you want it, you've heard about the Jersey Shore, come experience the Jersey Shore. There's really no place like it. Andrew, did you know I was actually a valet in that hotel back when I was in high school? So They know me very well there. Yeah. And amazingly, they're still letting me stay.
They're going to let you back? They're going to let you come back?
Well, yeah, I got to pay extra, but that's okay. And so, but yeah, I mean, great restaurants. You're right on the boardwalk. If anybody wants to see Sopranos filming locations, we can show you those as well. So it is all at New Beginnings. So to register, please go to www.nbchiro.com and you'll get all the information So this is a don't miss it event for me every year, twice a year, as much as I can do it, or 3, depending on how many times Jim holds it. So it is wonderful. We're getting to the point. The world just wants to be together, and it's always a great time with Jim DeBell. So, Dr. Andrew, any words? We'll let you take the show out.
Oh, thanks. Well, one thing I do want to mention is if you're a student and you're going to come to New Beginnings or thinking about it, such a critical time to come out there. Again, one of the driving forces is I missed it as a student, and I really had to play catch up once I got into practice. Come out there now while you're a student. Even if you're sitting in boards or anything that you've got to do, come out to New Beginnings, because you will find that your experience at school will be changed forever and profoundly affected just by coming to the first New Beginning. So I want to encourage the students to come out. But I do want to thank you, Dr. Brian, for doing this. This is such a great platform to be able to spread chiropractic and New Beginnings. And you know what? We look forward to seeing everybody there in May. This will be a great time, and it's going to be an awesome way to get together finally again. So thank you.
You got it. Thank you. So folks, register www.nbchiro.com, and we will see you in May at New Beginnings in beautiful Asbury Park, New Jersey. Bye.